Welcome to another episode of the MMA Lock-Cast. I'm your host, Manpreet, a.k.a. MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMA LOTN. This week, we're going to be going over UFC Fortaleza, which is UFC on ESPN Plus 2. So, moving forward, I'm not even going to bother putting in the actual UFC on ESPN or UFC this or that. If it's a fight night, it's a fight night. So, I'm just going to go by UFC Fortaleza, or the next one, UFC... I think the next one is actually a pay-per-view, but after that, I think it's... I don't even know where I think they're going to Wichita sometime soon. But regardless, we got UFC Fortaleza coming up this weekend, headlined by Rafael Assuncao and Marlon Moraes. Should be a great card for the Brazilian fan base, fight night especially, so you're not expecting a huge bang. But the main card's pretty good. There's a lot of good bangers on there. You got Jose Aldo on there, so it should be a great card. But as we always do, we're going to be starting off with the casuals, and we got my man Big Rob back with us after a little bit of a hiatus. What's going on?
Yay, what's going on?
Hey.
Yeah.
So I tweeted it out earlier today that I'm going to be doing something a little bit different for this week's episode. The last UFC event we had was UFC on ESPN Plus 1, which was UFC Brooklyn, headlined by champ fight. We had Henry Cejudo defending his title against TJ Dillashaw, who's coming down from 135 to... challenge for the 125 title and try to become, I think it was the fourth guy to ever hold two belts at once. And it was a bit of a controversial fight, as most of you already know. It's been beaten to a pulp right now, but I thought it would be interesting to get the perspective of a casual and see what he sees and if it's in line with what most MMA fans are thinking or, what they took away from it. So, it wasn't a long fight, so I'm just going to start off from the beginning of it and we'll get it going. So, this is TJ Dillashaw, blue shorts, and that's Henry Cejudo.
All right.
The best guys at the lower weight. This guy's the champion at the lowest weight class, which is 125 pounds. The guy in the blue is the champion at 135 pounds. So he's coming down a weight class to challenge and try to hold two belts, pretty much. Hasn't been done a lot in the UFC in 20 years, 25 years. Only 4 guys have done it. But yeah, so he pushes him there.
Yeah.
Clips him behind the ear, drops him.
Fast.
Following up with punches. Does a great job controlling his position.
Yeah.
So,
That's super fast, man.
what do you think of that?
It just looked like it was all these little jabs, like, and he was just trying to get back up, and it was just jabs, and then that was it. He was done.
Like he's already up. He's complaining. So, obviously he's pissed. He put in 12 weeks of training, all the money, diet. He said he's never weighed 125 pounds in his life, which was since he was a late teen, 17, 18 years old. He's 30-something now, but the main story leading up to this fight was his weight cut. If he was going to be able to get down to 125 pounds, and he looked like death. Leading up to the fight or to the weigh-ins, he looked fucking horrible. But he said he felt great. He goes, "This is the strongest I've ever felt." The weight cut wasn't an issue. He was the first guy to weigh in. He tried making a statement by saying, "I'm good," and then it gets taken away from him within 31 seconds.
Now, what happened here? Was it why did they stop the fight?
So
Because he looked like he kept getting up.
Okay, so you don't think it was justifiably stopped? As a casual, right?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. It just looked like he...
So here's the replay.
Okay. Yeah.
So he kind of pushed him at first.
Right.
That punch lands. Okay. It rocks him.
Yeah,
he's hurt. Right. He's working to get back up.
Yeah, he's still.
He has his leg.
Yeah, he's still totally working it. He's just not down at all. Yeah, he's back up, and then he's going.
Drops again.
And then they just stopped it. But he looked like he was just getting back up. He wasn't tapping out. He wasn't. It's almost like the ref was just like, "No, that's enough."
I won't lie. That looks bad.
That does.
The way he drops and
his neck kind of.
But he's still rotating. He was still in, perpetual motion. He was still moving, right?
He was totally active. It's not like he went limp or he was like, "Hey, help," or he was in pain. He was just like he's getting beat, but I mean he looked like he was totally getting back up.
So that was the controversy revolving around this. It's such a big fight. It means a lot for both of their legacies. If that guy won the title, he would have been again the fourth ever guy to hold two belts at the same time. Two different divisions. So this is the replay of him kind of arguing.
Yeah, he looks like he got cheated a little bit.
Yep. So the referee got a lot of flack for that. So in your casual opinion, you would say that this is a bad stoppage?
I would say so just by looking at it, but at the same time, I wonder if like it's hard to tell in seconds too for the ref, I guess, because the ref would, it's a fine line between the guy getting beat into a pulp, right?
Yeah, and like losing a couple more brain cells or something, right? So
yeah. But I mean, he totally looked like he was getting back up.
Yeah, that was the unfortunate part, that it was stopped that early. Like when I first watched it, I didn't think it was a quick stoppage. I thought, the second time he dropped, or he was getting up and then drops again. Like Henry landed a lot of good shots at that point, but on further speculation and further keep watching it more and more, like it looks like a bad stoppage. Here's another thing. I want to get your perspective on how that looks too, but let's just wrap up the casuals for that. So in your opinion, you think it was a quick stoppage? I agree. A lot of people agree too. There have been plenty of polls. Everybody's been talking about it since it's happened. So it's unfortunate that it ended that way. Yeah, man, there was a lot of controversy. 31 seconds, a lot of people are saying that he should have been given more of a chance just to recuperate. So it's a fine line between stopping it early and making sure you don't make or the referee doesn't allow the guy to take so much damage.
That's true too, because at the end of the day, was he actually going to win the fight? Probably not. I don't know, but he could have.
Exactly. Yeah. We've seen crazier comebacks. I've shown you. I've shown you crazier comebacks, right?
Totally.
So, and another thing is just the belt. So this is the first time that they've ever given out this belt. They redesigned the belt. This is their first. This year they started a new contract with the ESPN. Okay. So they wanted to kind of usher it in with something new. So this is their belt. What do you think of it? What's your first impressions?
It kind of reminds me of WWE a little bit.
Yeah?
A little bit.
It does. It does.
And it looks like a stop sign too.
Some people said it looks like something out of the Power Rangers.
Yeah, it sure does actually, now that you mention it.
Right?
It really does. Especially on a little guy like him.
Exactly. It for me, it took a little while to grow on me. You know what I mean? I don't think it looks horrible now, but I've looked at it plenty of times now. But around it, they have the countries of the first 8 countries that had a champion. On the sides of it, they have jewels. So every time you defend your belt, they add another jewel to it.
That's pretty cool.
So I get what they're doing with it. It's pretty cool. It's been getting a lot of flack.
It does look like a giant belt buckle, I have to say.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've seen better belts out there. There are definitely other organizations that have better belts, but I think it's one of those things that's just going to have to kind of settle in, and people are going to get behind it a little bit more. But I like the concept of it. I like the concept of the jewels on it. Mm-hmm. Normally they just give a brand new belt every time. But now they only keep this one, and then they just keep adding the jewels to it.
That's pretty cool.
So it's
a new tradition.
Exactly. It's a new tradition for them, but they're ushering in a new era with being on ESPN, which is apparently the biggest sporting channel in the States. So good for them. Unfortunate start to their ESPN era with that unfortunate stoppage. But, that's
pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much it for the casuals. We got, the casual perspective on the Dillashaw Cejudo ending. Maybe that gets your mind thinking a little bit more. And I think it's just always a great idea to get a casual perspective of it. So it's not always going to be knockouts. It's not always going to be submissions. It's going to be controversial moments like this as well. It's great to get a diehard perspective and then a casual perspective, and then maybe we can compare and contrast from there. So thanks, Big Rob. Appreciate you as always. So the last time I spoke to you guys was before UFC Brooklyn. And since then, including UFC Brooklyn, we've had 2 events. I wasn't planning on making any bets for Bellator Los Angeles. However, there were 2 lines that really stuck out to me. One that I'm kicking myself in the ass for, but we'll start off with UFC Brooklyn. One of my first lock of the night plays was a parlay with Gregor Gillespie, who looked phenomenal. You can say what you want about the stalling and just grapple fucking, but that's his forte, man, and nobody can do anything about it. So what the fuck is he supposed to do? He's imposing his will, and he has the best aspect of MMA down to a T. So let him use it, and then he eventually got the finish, which was great. Ariane Lipski, though, that one was a little bit tough to swallow. I was very, very confident in her. Everything on tape showed that she would be able to be the type of woman to give Joanne Calderwood problems and break her as well. But Joanne Calderwood seems to have turned a little point in her career, and it's just, it is what it is. Lipski may have had some sort of the UFC jitters, whatever it was, but she did not show up. I tweeted out during that fight, it seems like the violence queen left her violence in the fucking locker room or back wherever the fuck she came from, or Brazil, whatever. It was very unfortunate. I was super bummed as that fight was going on, and I kind of saw the trajectory of it. I've been off for a while, guys. I'm trying to get my words back together. But regardless, so I whiffed on that lock of the night parlay. Then I also had a lock of the night play on Teixeira Roberson. Fight doesn't go to decision. That one came through for me, thank God. But it was still kind of a bad night. Both my dog of the night plays missed as well. Both of them were on the Hernandez and Cerrone fight. I had the 1 unit on under 1.5 rounds for that fight. It went a minute and a half more than that. And then I also had Cerrone by submission, which, if you've seen Donald Cerrone fights in the past, when he has guys hurt and they go to the ground, he looks for a submission over a TKO. So I'm not mad at the 0.5 unit stab at plus 550. I thought there was great and immense value on that, because that is just what Cerrone is known for. He rocks guys and he goes for the submission, but I think he wanted to make a point against Alex Hernandez here and punish him as much as possible. So he just went for the TKO. A part of me wishes I went for the Cerrone inside the distance, but it is what it is. Great win for Donald Cerrone. Kind of bittersweet just to see that everybody writing off Cerrone, and then he comes back and destroys a hot prospect like Alexander Hernandez. So on UFC Brooklyn, I was minus 3.56 units. Super bummed about that. And then Bellator, my main play was, or my only play was going to be Fedor versus Ryan Bader. I had 1 unit at plus 325. That one, went to shit right away. I would take that bet again and again and again, especially at those odds. Anything less than plus 300, I probably would not take, but plus 325, I think there was immense value on that. If, Fedor's chin had shown up, maybe it would have been a different fight. I would have been interested to see if Ryan Bader was going to be able to get Fedor down and kind of work that Matt Mitrione type game plan. However, all he needed was a fucking leaping jab, hook, or whatever the fuck it was. Like, I can't believe that's all it took to put Fedor out. So, next fight we had, or my lock of the night play, which I'm very, I don't really have the unfortunate sound tone for that one, but I'm so ashamed of myself for making that Pico and Archuleta parlay. Not so much about the Archuleta play, that was a very close fight. The decision probably could have gone Bandejas's way, but I love Archuleta. I thought, this was his fight to win, and he did win, which is good, but I thought he would have performed a little bit better. And then the Aaron Pico one, that was just, I could have played Archuleta straight. I'm not sure what the fuck came into me to bet Pico or add him to this parlay. I got a little bit parlay happy, I guess you can say, but very bummed about that. It's such an amateur move. I don't know if I'll be able to forgive myself for that type of bullshit, but it is what it is. Pico gets fucking sloppy with his striking defense and pays for it, and Corrales puts him out. So minus 6 units on Bellator. Rough stretch since UFC 232. That's 3 straight losing events. It pains me to say that, but I know I'm back on the grind. We got 9 straight UFC events coming up, starting with UFC Fortaleza, and I got my plays locked in for it already. I got a couple alerts set just in case these 2 underdogs get better pricing, which is what I'm kind of looking for. But I think Fortaleza is going to be my route back to the beginning of a hot streak that I got coming up. I'm super confident in what I'm playing, and I can't wait to break it down for you guys. Starting now, pretty much. So, UFC Fortaleza, headlined by Assuncao versus Moraes. Great card, in my opinion. Marlon Moraes, a lot of people thought that he won that first fight against Assuncao. Close fight, man. Very, very close fight. I think that the fact that this is 5 rounds is going to allow it to play out a little bit more, and somebody is going to be able to pull out or pull ahead a little bit more, so it won't be as inconclusive as that first fight. I'll break that down a little bit further, but Jose Aldo against Renato Moicano, great fight. Gives Moicano a chance to put another name under his belt. Aldo gives him a chance to assert himself right back in the top 2, top 3 of that division, especially after brutal losses to Max Holloway. What else? Lyman Good against Demian Maia, great fight. Johnny Walker against Justin Ledet, another great fight. So I got 3 bets currently. I'll break them down as the card goes on. But let's just kick things off with the first fight of the night. So we got Magomed Bibulatov against Rogerio Bontorin. Just a heads up before, I did my best to tape this as much as possible. I was gone for the last week, out of town, with my girlfriend's family, and it was tough for me to get the time into tape. I only really taped the fights that I was very interested in betting on, and hence why I made those plays. But some of the other fights, I just skimmed over a little bit. So this might be a little bit more condensed version of the MMA Lock-Cast, but I'm going to do my best to break down as best as I can for you guys. But I'm already on working on UFC 234. Super excited about that one. I see some plays that I can hit for that, but I'm waiting on the lines to kind of settle out a bit more. And then I'm also working on the tape index for 234 as well, which you guys should have by Friday. So that gives you plenty of time to tape before the actual fight comes on February 9th. Regardless. Oh, before. You know what? I'll leave that for the end of the show. But regardless, we got first fight, Magomed Bibulatov against Rogerio Bontorin. Bibulatov is coming off an unfortunate loss to John Moraga in his last fight. Got caught, maybe got a little bit cocky, maybe got a little bit lackadaisical, but it was unfortunate that he lost to John Moraga less than 2 minutes into the first round. But he looked like a wrecker moving up onto that. He was a big favorite in that fight against John Moraga as well. So, and I'm sure he busted a lot of parlays too. That must have been very unfortunate. But, Bibulatov, I think he should be able to roll here in the fight against Bontorin. Bontorin has some good submissions. I'm not too worried about that. I would think twice about making Bibulatov like a parlay piece that you guys could do. There has been some promise that Bontorin has shown very good submissions, got a standing rear naked choke in his last fight. I am taking Bibulatov to win this by decision, but I would be very wary about making him a parlay piece at the minus 400 or so price point that he's at right now. Next up, we got Ricardo Ramos against Said Nurmagomedov. Very good fight in my opinion. Nurmagomedov is coming up from flyweight due to the fact that the future of the flyweights is still up in the air. We don't know what the fuck is going on. Dana White's not saying anything. Henry Cejudo is still the champion. But with that said, Said Nurmagomedov is forced to come up to 135, where he's still not, he won't be undersized per se. He's 5'8", 70-inch reach. Ricardo Ramos is just slightly bigger than 5'9", 72-inch reach. So I think they're going to be evenly matched in terms of physique. Ramos might be the stronger guy in there. Him against Kyung Ho Kang, that was a crazy fight considering that both of them were 135ers. And, even the commentators were like, these guys look really big for this division. So I'm not sure how much more of a physical strength advantage that Ramos is going to have here against Said Nurmagomedov. But Nurmagomedov does a great job with toying on the feet, throwing some spinning shit here and there, and then looking for the takedown at opportune moments. I think he's going to be able to get Ricardo Ramos down a couple of times here, but I don't know if he's going to be able to keep Ramos down. Ramos has some great submissions, some great jiu-jitsu, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to submit Said Nurmagomedov, but I do think that he has the advantage on the feet. So I think the fight is lined like a pick'em, rightfully so. But I I don't know if I can trust either guy with more than a unit or a unit and a half. So if you guys are betting more than that on this fight, I'll be very skeptical. It's hard to say who's going to win this fight, because I could definitely see Ricardo Ramos pushing the pace, being aggressive, being inside Nurmagomedov's face, landing big shots. But then Saeed might be able to land some takedowns and make it a little bit interesting. And if it gets to the judges' scorecard, a lot of people think that Saeed got a gift in his last fight against Justin Scoggins, and it could be because of those takedowns. Even though he wasn't able to keep Scoggins down long, or even get, he had trouble getting Scoggins down too at certain points. He might be successful in getting Ramos down, but again, will he be able to keep him down? Will he be able to stay out of submissions? I think he will be able to, but I don't know if he's going to be able to keep Ricardo Ramos down long enough where Ramos is going to be able to land a lot of big shots on the feet, make it interesting up there. But if it gets to the judge's decision, it's going to be too close in my opinion. So I can't comfortably pick a side to bet on. And I wouldn't suggest betting more than 1 or 1.5 units on either guy. I do see a split decision incoming once again, just as Ricardo Ramos did in his last fight against Kyung Ho Kang. I think you stay away from this fight. I think you pass on this fight. You kind of enjoy the fight. I think it's going to be a great fight. But in the end, I think it's going to be Ricardo Ramos who gets the decision victory here. I think that he does do the damage on the feet. I think he does get taken down, but he pops right back up. So I'm going to take Ricardo Ramos by decision. Mainly from damage that he does on the feet. Next up, we have a fight that was added pretty late. And I had to scramble to kind of put into the tape index. We have Geraldo de Freitas Jr. Versus Felipe Colares. I always want to say Colares when I see this guy's name, just because Colares is way more of a, popular name and more used name than fucking Colares. But regardless, I'm going to be honest, I did not see much tape on these guys. It was hard for me to find much tape on Geraldo Freitas to begin with. There was plenty of tape for Felipe Colares, so you guys can check that out on the tape index, which is on Newsom's website. I don't know who to pick here. I know Geraldo is more so a jiu-jitsu guy, and Felipe is more of a stand-up guy, but I wasn't able to see much in terms of seeing who has the capabilities of implementing their advantage more than the other. So coin toss, I'm just going to say Colares keeps it on the feet and TKOs De Freitas Jr. Next fight, we got Baby Junior Albini against, this guy's name is rough. Jairzinho Rozenstruick. He's from Suriname, one of the smaller countries in Africa. I think it's Africa. 6-0, making his UFC debut. He's gotten pretty much every finish on his record except one where he went to a split decision in Rizin against Andrei Kovalev. I see a little bit of potential in this guy in terms of knockout power being a little bit exciting, and he might make Junior Albini a little bit more aggressive. It's hard to pick who's going to win in this fight too. I don't know which way I'm siding. At least not yet. It's a pretty even fight at the moment. But I'm going to go with Jairzinho Rozenstruick. He just due to Albini, getting that Ezekiel choke loss to Alexei Oleinik was rough. Being outstruck by Andrei Arlovski is rough, especially in 2017. So I got to go with Rozenstruick here. Accomplished glory or kickboxer as well. So I think he's going to have the power here, and I think he might knock out Albini, who's a little bit slow for a guy who likes to strike. Next up, we got Mara Borella Romero. Oh, did I mix up my slides? I did. Mara Romero Borella. Coming off a loss to Caitlin Chukagian, but she did tap out Kalindra Ferraria in her last fight. Taila Santos coming up 15-0, just won a unanimous decision in Dana White's Contender Series. This girl's good, man. She has some great leg kicks. I think she's going to want to keep this fight on the feet. Mara Borella definitely wants to get this fight to the ground ASAP, but I am not convinced by her takedowns. I do not think that she has the takedown capability to get Santos down. I think she's going to need a lot of shots on the feet, and I wouldn't even be surprised if Santos gets the finish here. I think she's going to brutalize Borella on the feet, and it's going to be a rough night for Borella. So not much in terms of a breakdown here. Pretty clean cut, black and white, like striker versus grappler type of matchup, but I'm going to be favoring the striker here due to the fact that Borella doesn't really have the best takedowns to get this fight to the ground. Next up, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull, coming back to fight, or not really coming back, but back in the octagon, fighting Max Griffin. Good fight here for Thiago Alves to try to get back on the winning track after losing 2 straight. He's lost to Curtis Millender, brutal knee, unfortunate loss for him there, and then went the decision against a very tough opponent in Alexei Kunchenko, who now sits at 19 or 20-0 actually. Kunchenko, did the bare minimum on the feet to win that fight, but Thiago Alves was in that fight from beginning to end. He never really dwindled. I think he's going to have a good chance here against Max Griffin, and I do think there is some value on Thiago Alves here. If you can catch him at plus 175 or higher than that, I wouldn't be mad at a 1 to 2 unit stab on him here. Max Griffin, not the best on the feet, but does a really good job with sticking with the game plan. We saw that obviously in his fight against Mike Perry. He was able to stay away from the big shots from Mike Perry and pretty much just outpoint him. And then he got outstruck by Curtis Millender. So if Thiago Alves is able to implement a similar type of game style that Curtis Millender did, which is going to be rough due to the fact that, very different in physicality, it's going to be tough for Thiago Alves to keep up with the pace and movement of Max Griffin, in my opinion. But I do think that he has the advantage on the feet, even though he's a little bit older now. But Max Griffin, he's a mediocre fighter, and unless he sticks to a legit game plan, which he has been able to in the past, he could outpoint Thiago Alves here too. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Max Griffin go for a couple takedowns here. But I'm going to go with the upset. I think Thiago Alves possibly stops this later in the fight. But I think that he outstrikes Max Griffin, makes it tough for Max Griffin to stick to a game plan. And yeah, I gotta take Thiago Alves here, especially at the odds. Not officially betting it, but I would definitely be interested if he gets to be a little bit higher of a dog. Ooh. Getting a little stuffy in here. Regardless, Thiago Alves by decision. Next up, Marcus Perez against Anthony Hernandez. So Anthony Hernandez is a guy that I'm very interested in. I think that he has a lot of potential. Currently only 6-0. 6-0, 6-0-1. Should be 7-0. Completely destroyed the can crusher of all can crushers, Jordan Wright, on the 2018 version of the Contender Series. Starts him in 40 seconds, made it look easy, but his fight against Brendan Allen was very impressive. There's a lot of back and forth exchanges. Brendan Allen had a lot of submission attempts. Anthony Hernandez was able to stifle them. He was always able to be a step ahead of Brendan Allen, who I think very highly of as well. Brendan Allen's a great prospect, and I think he's going to be in the UFC sometime soon. I don't know why my nose is bugging me so much, but regardless, I think Brendan Allen will be in the UFC soon. He's the current champion over at LFA right now, but Anthony Hernandez put in some work in that fight. But this fight against Marcus Perez, Perez is a little bit more weathered than some of the guys that he's fought in the past. Perez has fought a lot of top flight competition. He's unfortunately coming off a loss to Andrew Sanchez and a loss to Eric Anders, but he's beaten Ian Heinich, who just recently beat Mutanche Cesar Ferreira. My nose is bugging the fuck out of me. Anyway. So he has a win over Ian Heinrich. I think that he may give Anthony Hernandez a little bit of issues. I I think that if Marcus Perez was able to lock up some of those submissions that Brendan Allen got Anthony Hernandez in, he might be able to get the finish. I think he's a little bit more, he's a little better on the ground. I think Marcus Perez is a little bit better on the ground than Brendan Allen is. And I don't know if Anthony Hernandez would have been able to get out of those positions if it was Marcus Perez going for those submissions. So that's something to consider here. I have set an alert for Marcus Perez in terms of if his odds get to a certain point, and I may bet on him. If the line has started to close as of late, but I think he started off around the plus 200 range or so, and he was up there for a little bit, but I never really got around to the tape at the time. I was waiting for limits to get a little bit higher too, but also people are privy to Marcus Perez now when the line has started to close a little bit. So at the current lines, I wouldn't bet Marcus Perez due to the potential of Anthony Hernandez, but if it gets to a certain point, maybe plus 200 or so, I think Marcus Perez is worth a bit of a bet. But I am going to take Anthony Hernandez here to win. I think that he gets a TKO. I think he's really good on the feet. I think he could outstrike Marcus Perez here. And I may take Anthony Hernandez by second round TKO. But don't be surprised to see a bet on Marcus Perez if he gets to a certain number. So official pick is Anthony Hernandez, but a potential bet on Marcus Perez depending on where the line goes. Next up, we got Olivier Renato Souza against Sarah Frota. I wish the UFC has Sarah Frota's fucking picture on their website yet, because this woman is probably the most intimidating woman I've ever seen. Chris Cyborg looks intimidating. She makes Cyborg look like Barney, almost. She has fucking tattoos all over her face, tatted from head to toe pretty much, and just looks mean. She looks like Thiago Silva. If y'all remember Thiago Silva from back in the day, yeah, she pretty much looks like him. So Sarah Frota currently sits at 9-0. She has an impressive win in her Dana White Contender Series fight over a woman that she had already beaten earlier that year. But this fight against Olivier Renato Souza is very interesting. I was very impressed with Frota's kind of striking technique on the feet. She gets a little wild at times, but she's very vicious and she's very aggressive. If Olivier Renato Souza is not able to get this fight to the ground, which is where I think that she is a little bit more, she's a little bit more weathered, and I think that she has a bit of an advantage, but not too much of an advantage. I don't know if she'll be able to tap Sarah Frota, but I saw a lot of people out there already parlaying Olivier Renato Souza, and I don't know, man. This is a tough girl that she's going up against, and it's kind of hard to gauge where Sarah Frota is going to be, with that UFC debut. Is she going to come out and look way better than she did in the last fight, or is she going to come out and kind of look like Lipsky and have that, unfortunate and underwhelming performance where she doesn't really show her true potential and her true skill set? So I'm going to stay away from this fight personally, but I've also set an alert on her, on Sarah Frota as well. I'm interested to see where that line goes, getting closer to the fight, but I think she has a good chance of outstriking Olivier Renato Souza on the feet and keeping the fight on the feet to keep it in her realm. So don't, just because you don't know who Sarah Frota is, I would be very skeptical betting against her, and we truly don't know what she's going to look like when she comes out. Olivier Renato Souza just completely steamrolled Alex Chambers in her last fight, but Sarah Frota is a far fetch from Alex Chambers, so be very skeptical and do a little bit more research if you guys are interested in betting on that fight. But I think the value is going to be on Frota if she continues to be a bigger underdog. Next fight is actually one of the fights that I have my dog of the night play on, is Mr. Johnny Walker against Justin Leggett. So when this fight was originally announced, I favored Leggett right off the bat. I didn't really do the tape at the time, but just off of memory, I was on the Justin Leggett train. He may have gotten completely smushed by Alexander Rakic in his last fight, but that's not the type of game plan that Johnny Walker is going to be coming in with. And I expected Johnny Walker to be a pretty big favorite, or a pretty hefty favorite going into this fight, just due to the fact that he starts Khalil Roundtree. And again, it's not MMA math or anything like that, but like the fact that Khalil Roundtree smushed Gokhan Saki, and then he went into the fight with Johnny Walker as a huge favorite. It came with that, you know what I mean? It came due to the fact that he beat Saki in his last fight, and that rubbed off in the Johnny Walker fight, and then Johnny Walker came and takes Khalil Roundtree's thunder now. And lo and behold, Johnny Walker was a pretty hefty favorite over Justin Ledet when the lines came out, due to recency bias, if you want to call it that. You know, Johnny Walker smushed Khalil Roundtree, and Justin Ledet got murked by Alexander Rakic. I think it was 30-24, even though it was a decision loss. But, you know, again, going into that fight, I'm like, everybody's going to be thinking that, you know, Justin Ledet murked in his last fight. You know, he will come in as a pretty hefty underdog in this fight, and he did. But after running the tape, I don't know. You know, Justin Ledet has some great boxing, one of the best jabs in the heavyweight division, or light heavyweight division, I should say now. But it's gonna be tough to do that against a guy like Johnny Walker. He might be able to land on Johnny Walker and get it, but that lead leg is so fucking heavy, and Johnny Walker throws a lot of kicks, you know, whether it's to the legs or, you know, push kicks or head kicks. He likes to throw the legs, and he's long too, man. Johnny Walker is very long, very athletic, has a lot of potential, still very young in his MMA career. You know, he's 15-3 right now, but he's a pretty young guy. I'm pretty sure his age is like only 20. He is 26, so he's still very young, has a lot of time to grow and mature, but he's been on a wrecking streak as of late, 2, 4, 6, 8 wins in a row. He defeated Luis Enrique da Silva, which was his only decision victory, or only time he's gone to a decision, which was, you know, but I don't expect Justin Ledet to implement that type of game plan, nor do I think that he has good enough takedowns to get Johnny Walker down. I think that after doing the tape, that Johnny Walker is going to have the advantage here. I think that he's going to beat up the leg of Justin Ledet, kind of slow him down. It won't allow Ledet to implement enough of a takedown or enough strength in the takedown to get Johnny Walker down. And then I think Johnny Walker is just going to pick him apart on the feet and just completely steamroll him after he kind of immobilizes Justin Ledet. Justin Ledet might have some success in that first round, but he's got to be very wary about that lead leg and being as heavy on it as he normally is, because Johnny Walker's just going to eat. No, he's going to eat that shit up. So I got Johnny Walker here. My bet is 2 units on Johnny Walker inside the distance. I got it at plus 140. I think there's a lot of value on it at plus money. So whether if you want to go 2 units deep or 1 unit deep, I definitely think it's worth a bet. I think the style that Justin Ledet brings to this fight is prime for Johnny Walker to kind of just, you know, overtake him. He's gonna steamroll him, in my opinion. I think that he wins within the first round and a half. As long as he implements those leg kicks right off the bat. I think he is intelligent enough to do something like that, especially seeing it in all of Justin Ledet's last fights, and a guy who's known to be a leg kicker, like Johnny Walker. It's kind of a match made in heaven for Walker. So after doing the tape, I'm not surprised as to why Johnny Walker was as solid of a favorite. And I don't really bat my eye at anybody playing Justin Ledet at like plus 225 or higher, but I truly think this is Johnny Walker's fight to win. I think he gets it done inside the distance as well, and I think there's plenty of value at plus 140. So my personal official pick is Johnny Walker first round KO, and my official bet is Johnny Walker inside the distance, 2 units at plus 140. Next up, great fight. Charles Oliveira, Bill Bronx going up against David Tamor. Charles Oliveira has been on a bit of a run, 3 straight wins, 3 straight finishes. The one thing that's always been entertaining or intriguing to me in Charles Oliveira fights have been the fight do not go to decision. I think I saw it at around minus 185. Very intriguing. However, David Tamor style may make this fight actually go to a decision. Excuse me. Yeah, so kind of classic striker versus grappler style here too. Charles Oliveira obviously wants to get this fight to the ground. You know, he doesn't have the most terrible stand-up. He has decent stand-up, but if it's not going his way, he crumbles. And I don't know if David Teymur really has that the killer instinct to go for the kill, per se, against Charles Oliveira. He might have him hurt, but he might be too afraid of the ground. And if Charles Oliveira, gets dropped or something, he might let Charles Oliveira right back up and he try to, finish him on the feet. But I don't know if he has that killer instinct. I think David Teymur is more of a point striking fighter or a striking point fighter. I don't know which one you would go with. Regardless, I think that David Teymur plays it really safe on the feet. He lands the shots that he needs to win every single round, and I think that's going to be kind of easy for him in this fight against Charles Oliveira. And it's kind of tough for me to see where Charles Oliveira will be able to get this fight to the ground. Maybe he just kind of goes balls to the wall and tries to rush David Teymur and get him against the cage and maybe pull guard or pull some fucking flying triangle or something like that. But I think that David Teymur is just so disciplined. Even countering, it's going to be hard for Charles Oliveira to close that distance. I'm going to pick David Teymur by decision in this fight. I would also bet David Teymur if he got to a certain plus money. So that's another line that I'm keeping an eye on. If David Teymur stays at plus money gets to a certain amount, plus 130 maybe, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I don't think that people are going to bet up Charles Oliveira that much. I would consider David Teymur at plus 120 as well. But I think it's either David Teymur or Charles Oliveira higher than plus 150, plus 160. Otherwise, I think this fight's a pass. Even the fight doesn't go to decision, even though it's minus 185. I could definitely see it going to a decision with David Teymur being a little bit more conservative and just winning this by outpointing Charles Oliveira on the feet. So my official pick, pick to win this is David Teymur by decision. I hope it's a more exciting fight than David Teymur kind of running in circles and throwing jabs every now and then or throwing some leg kicks every now and then. But who knows? Charles Oliveira might bring out the dog in him, and it might be a crazy fucking dogfight. So that's something to keep in mind. Next up, we got Demian Maia against Lyman Good. This is actually one of my lock of the night plays, or my only lock of the night play actually. I got Demian Maia, Lyman Good. Fight doesn't go to decision at minus 215. Lock of the night. So it goes both ways. Demian Maia could get this fight to the ground. And maybe not easily sub Lyman Good, but I think that he'll be able to get the positions that he needs to finish Lyman Good. However, Lyman Good fucking sauced up. Like, I know he got suspended for it in the past, but the dude just still looks fucking ridiculous. I think he's going to... I think he has the athleticism and strength to shuck off any type of, 42-year-old man takedowns that Demian Maia is going to try to present to him. And I think that Lyman Good could TKO or knock out Demian Maia, man. He has ridiculous power. What he put Ben Saunders out with those uppercuts, ridiculous. He's a power puncher. I think that he's going to be able to make it a rough night for Demian Maia and get the finish here. But I'm just not confident enough betting Lyman Good due to the fact that, there could be anything that happens that allows Demian Maia to get top position or even get this fight to the ground. The one that I always harp on pretty much every single fucking podcast, but I will bring it up again, is Alexei Oleinik and Mark Hunt. Nobody thought that Alexei Oleinik was going to be able to get Mark Hunt down. What the fuck happens? He gets him down, gets a submission, fight over. It could just as easily happen in this fight too. It could happen in this fight. But official pick, I don't think it will. I think that Lyman Good keeps it on the feet and eventually gets the TKO or knockout here. But I want to cover my ass by taking the minus 215 in the off chance that Demian Maia somehow gets this fight to the ground. So, official pick, Lyman Good, let's say second round TKO. Fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 215. Co-main event up next. I'm gonna give this bitch some horns. There you go. I'll give it 2 horns. We go to out of 5, right? So I'll give it 2 horns. Jose Aldo against Renato Moicano. Great fight for both guys in their based on where they are in their careers. Jose Aldo's had a rough stretch in his last 5 fights. Apologies. He's 2-3 in his last 5. beat Edgar by decision back at UFC 200, got knocked out by Conor McGregor at UFC 194, was out for a little bit, came back, lost to Max Holloway twice, had a decent showing against Jeremy Stephens. This is something I tweeted out a little bit earlier that got some traction, was that a lot of people thought that Jeremy Stephens lit up Jose Aldo. I don't think that's true. There was a certain part where Jeremy Stephens had some success against the cage where he was hitting Aldo a couple times, but I don't think Aldo was ever in danger of getting stopped or danger of getting knocked out or anything like that. So I think that the narrative that Jeremy Stephens was lighting up Jose Aldo is a little bit overblown and overstated, and then we saw Aldo come back and get that body punch and ground and pound finish, just shy of the 420 mark of round one. Big win for him. It was great to see him. I even cashed on that. I think I played one unit on Jose Aldo there, or half a unit, I can't remember, but I saw the plus money on Aldo, and I'm like, you know what, let's give it a fucking try, and it paid off. I had considered a Jose Aldo bet in this Renato Moicano fight, but it's hard for me to do it at the current odds. I think it's roughly a pick-em at this point. Moicano's a beast. Moicano is going to give these guys some problems, and I think that his range, his technical prowess with his striking, is going to give Aldo some issues. It might be Moicano going for more of the leg kicks in this fight. That's something that we've seen Aldo move away from in recent years, which is fucking ridiculous. That's one of his power or his advantages and most powerful attributes, but he doesn't use it anymore. So if the old Aldo comes back and starts ripping some leg kicks, it might cause Renato Moicano some issues here. But I think that after losing the first round, Moicano is going to pick up some momentum and outpoint Aldo in the last two rounds. And I think that this fight goes to a decision. And I think Moicano just outworks Aldo on the feet. Aldo starts to slow down after after roughly two rounds, so maybe the third round will be the strongest for Moicano. Unfortunate finish for Moicano in that Ortega fight. However, I don't know. Like, he does a great job. Moicano does a great job of mixing it up too. He goes for opportune takedowns. He lands them. In the Zaleski dos Santos, or sorry, not the Zaleski, I'm mixing up my guys. In the Calvin Kattar fight, great awareness to get the fight to the ground. Jeremy Stephens fight, same thing. Stephens was so set on this fight being on the feet that he completely forgot to fucking defend takedowns, and Moicano was easily able to get him down. So I think that this is Moicano's fight to win. I think he outpoints Aldo in the second and third round. Very rangy guy, uses his length very well. Leg kicks as well too, just to keep the range. And if Aldo comes out hesitant, it's going to be rough. He needs to come out aggressive in that first round. He needs to kind of break Moicano if he can, and maybe even get another finish if he's able to in that first round. But I think that Moicano is rightfully the favorite, at least currently. But I'm going to take Moicano by decision. My heart is pulling for Aldo, but my brain is definitely saying Moicano. So I'm going to pick Moicano by decision, but wouldn't be surprised to see Aldo pull up the upset here. All right, last fight of the card, main event time. Horns? One horn. That's it. I gave Aldo Moicano 2 horns. I'm more excited for that fight than I am this fight, but this is a very, very significant fight in the bantamweight division. So rightfully so, I think both guys deserve a title shot with a win here. Assuncao rattled off 4 straight wins after a loss to TJ Dillashaw, and Moraes, since losing to Assuncao, he's rattled off 3 straight wins. Very impressive knockout of Aljamain Sterling, a starching of Jimmy Rivera, and then a split decision victory over John Dodson. So, not in that order, but you guys fucking get what I mean. So I actually took Rafael Assuncao. I took 1.5 unit stab on him at plus 201. I thought that line was just absolutely absurd. I saw the line kind of climbing a little bit. And then when I finally saw it hit plus 200, I kind of set an alarm for plus 200, and I got the notification. I was like, oh shit, it's actually there, and I'm going to fucking take it, Their first fight was very close. A lot of people say that, Marlon Moraes probably should have won that fight regardless. I think it was close enough that now we give it 5 rounds, maybe Assuncao is able to implement his game a little bit more. I get that Marlon Moraes is the younger guy here. He might be the more explosive guy, but Rafael Assuncao's technical IQ or fight IQ, his ability to adjust on the fly, his veterancy, his power even, he may not get a lot of finishes, but he has some good crack in his hands too. I think that it's, this fight should be lined at roughly maybe plus 140, plus 150-ish for Rafael Assuncao, and then maybe minus 150, minus 160 for Marlon Moraes. But I think that Rafael Assuncao definitely has a shot at plus 200. Like, I think that line is ridiculous. I think that we might even see that line again closer to fight night. I think people are really high on Marlon Moraes, and rightfully so. Marlon Moraes has a lot of potential to be a champion in this division. I think that Rafael Assuncao just poses a problem to a lot of guys in this division, and that plus 200 line is so disrespectful. So I'm going to be picking Marlon Moraes to win this fight. However, again, picking and betting are two different things, and I'm betting the number here with Rafael Assuncao. He can make the fight close enough that plus 200 is justifiable. It's a 1.5 unit stab, so if it loses, it loses, but I got my lock that I played to kind of supplement that. Again, always not guaranteed, but I'm very confident and comfortable with making a 1.5 unit stab on Rafael Assuncao at plus 200, and I wouldn't advise anybody else to bet Rafael Assuncao below or worse than plus 190, but there's definitely some value on him over that. So if his odds get better again closer to fight time, I would highly recommend placing a small bet on him. I think that it's worthwhile. But in terms of technical abilities, Rafael Assuncao is just Muay Thai and his striking, again, very solid, very technical. He could give Moraes problems. He landed on Moraes a lot. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a stand-up fight for the 5 rounds. I don't see either guy getting a finish per se, so I definitely see that. I see a chance where Rafael Assuncao is able to squeak out 3 rounds. We might get another split decision. Who fucking knows? But I'm willing to make that sacrifice of the 1.5 units for Rafael Assuncao to pull out a similar type of victory. So official pick to win, I think Marlon Moraes with his, just being the younger, more athletic and explosive guy. But again, the way their styles match up, it could be another close fight. So you got to go with the value if you want to bet this fight, and the value is on Rafael Assuncao above plus 190. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's a wrap on UFC Fortaleza. Super excited to get this card going. Super excited to get back into the green. I'm very, very confident in this event. I really like my plays. Definitely the Johnny Walker play. That's why I went 2 units on it. For I don't normally go higher than 1.5 to 2 units on a dog of the night play, but I'm very, very, very confident in that one. And then the fight doesn't go to decision for Demian, Maia, and Lyman Good. Very confident in that one as well. So yeah, that's UFC Fortaleza. So yeah, something that I had said earlier when I started these breakdowns, I wanted to show you guys something, or show some gifts that I came back with. I tweeted about it. My girlfriend's mom is very good at crafting and doing a lot of creative things and customizing things, and she surprised me with a lot as soon as I got to the place when my vacation started. She did it up, man. She got these 2 mugs that you guys can see on my Twitter page, and she even hooked me up with my own fucking water bottle. How legit is that? One of those insulated ones where it's like the water's cold for like 6 hours or some shit. Got my name on the back. Fucking, oh, there we go. Manpreet. It's fucking legit. She even got me the sweater. Did that up for me. I got a bunch more as well that I'm going to be giving away to some Twitter followers and stuff. I might do a contest on the YouTube page or on the podcast. I got some shirts too. I hooked my man Big Rob up with one of them as well. So these are some things that I'm going to be giving away, and it's all free. You know what I mean? Like, I heard some people want to like fucking start buying this shit too. So I'm not going to sell anything, at least not for the foreseeable future. At least I want to see maybe if I can get a little bit more creative with it. get something, maybe not start a fucking line or anything like that, but like I want to see how much more creative I can get with some of these clothing and other like souvenir type things with the branding. And thankfully my man LV hooked up the logo. The logo looks fucking sick, so it looks even better when it comes to life on these shirts and these bottles and these mugs and all that stuff. So yeah, that's great. Lock Fight League, I was supposed to do week 3 stream today. Unfortunately, you know, I got to do the podcast. I got delayed with my fucking flight being canceled on Monday, coming in on Tuesday. Supposed to do the podcast that day. Unfortunately, I had to push it back to Wednesday and not able to do the stream today. So I'm going to be doing the stream on Thursday, which is probably already done by the time you guys listen to this. And then next week, we got the playoffs, which is the last one. And somebody's going to claim $85 if one of their fighters wins. And then I'm going to start taking registrations for season 5. We're 5 seasons deep, and I got a lot of interest. A lot of people are starting to get on it, especially with Lock Fight League sponsoring the Tape Index, which is a fucking amazing tool. I used it myself for the fights that I was going to be taping for UFC Fortaleza. I've been using it with UFC 234, which I haven't posted yet. I'm going to be sending that to Newsom very soon. You guys should have that by Friday at the latest, so you guys can start digging in on that 234 tape, and hopefully I can provide you guys with some fights that you guys weren't able to find on your own. But great response for the Tape Index. I love seeing people, satisfied with it, posting it, saying how much easier it's making their lives. That's what we were hoping for and wanting to do when we came up with this idea. So my man Newsom and me, he did all the coding and all that stuff and putting it up on his website, which has a vast reach. And then I'm doing most of the grunt work, which I don't mind at all because I'm doing it regardless. You know what I mean? I want to get as much tape on these guys as I can, even if I'm not trying to dive in as much. But at least I know I have that link available. Just fucking click it, boom, fights right there. We even have, if it's the entire event video, we have exactly where the fight is, so you guys don't even need to search for that either. Bam, you just click it, or even when you click the link, it goes right to the fight. So great fucking tool. I love it. I hope you guys continue to enjoy it and pump it out there, and we can make it even bigger and better. Yeah, next week, UFC 234. I should have the podcast out by Tuesday or Wednesday. Going to be recording it on Monday. And I hope to get a little bit more in depth with all of the fights compared to what I was able to do for this UFC Fortaleza card. But I'm excited. I just can't wait for this 9 weeks to fucking start. 9 straight weeks of UFC events. I'm sure there's some Bellators after that and all that stuff. But I'm excited, man. We're in full swing for 2019, and I got to get my ass back on track. And I know that it's going to happen with UFC Fortaleza this weekend. So that's pretty much it for this podcast. And rate, subscribe, like, do all that shit. Help me out. You know what I mean? Like it definitely helps in terms of showing that it's actually reaching places. You guys can comment whether you want to talk shit or if you want to have a civilized conversation. I'm always talking in the comments below. So yeah, that's it. I'm out. So good to be back, but I'm out.